Hi, we're Sarah and Ryan from One Foot Off the Grid, and today we're going to tell you 4 mistakes we made when we purchased our piece of land, including one that cost us $8,000. In our recent video called 7 Things You Should Know Before You Buy Land, we had some great tips, but as we're getting closer to the build of our cabin, we've realized that we made some big mistakes that are going to cost us time and money.
We bought our 5-acre piece of property 8 years ago, and we couldn't be more happy with it. However, when we purchased, we were a little too eager, and now looking back, we overlooked some important points and made some major mistakes. We're sharing our mistakes with you today so you don't make the same ones. We promise after watching this video, you're going to feel more prepared and more confident in buying your own piece of property.
Be sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you're notified when we release more informational videos like this one. Mistake number 1, we were too eager and impatient. When we started looking for land, we knew that we wanted acreage and we wanted water view. That's kind of a hard thing to find because a lot of times if you're looking for water view and you're right on the water, there's no space around you. So we were having to look a little bit farther back from the main water line, which makes it hard to find that water view. So when we did finally find our piece of property, we were super excited because as you walked onto it was this flat space that was buildable and it had a view of the water.
Perfect.
The one thing we didn't consider is what we could actually control with that view. We have 5 acres of land, but there are parts of the view that are on other people's parts of property. And right now there's one tree that's growing and it's just gonna keep growing and it's eventually going to block our view. That's one thing that we just didn't think about when we were buying our piece of property. And now we're even having to take steps of contacting neighbors and saying, hey, could we take that tree down? And it's just not working in our favor. So think about that as you're looking. There may be something that you're like, yes, this is the piece of property for us. And you get so excited and then you purchase and then 5 years down the road, you start realizing, oh wait, we're not in control of that. So just kind of know what you are in control of and what you aren't.
Mistake number 2, understanding the details of our contract. When we purchased our property, there were 2 unique items in our contract, in our purchase agreement. One was the Road Maintenance Association, which we researched and explored thoroughly. It basically just said that there's a fee due every year from every lot owner, and it helps maintain the road, which benefits everybody in our development. The second portion, which we were really excited about when we bought the property, was there was a private beach that everybody in the development had access to. And we had the visions of playing on the beach and taking our kayaks out and picking oysters and clams and all this. And so it wasn't a huge thing that made us decide to buy the property, but we really liked the idea of having this private beach. And that's kind of the extent of what we explored it. It turned out that the beach that is part of our land is a very small portion, which in and itself isn't a big deal, but the larger issue is there's just no access. So there's no stairs, there's no parking. You kind of have to go like over a guardrail and climb down some rocks, and it's not usable. So like it's kind of cool to say that we have a 1/15 interest in a beach, but it's not very useful to us.
Yeah.
So I think the point here and the mistake that we made was that we didn't really understand what we were buying. We understood what we were buying in our property, but not that other piece of beach access that came along with it.
Mistake number 3, get a survey. Now we're getting into the items that would have saved us some money if we would have had them done right when we purchased. So when we purchased, we didn't get a survey because we were told, hey, it's 5 acres and this is where the plot lines are. And we were like, great, that sounds fantastic. Now as we're getting ready to build, it's becoming more and more apparent that we do need to get a survey just to make sure our structure is in the correct place when we build. But more importantly, we may have a small issue with where our septic system is. When you have your drain fields dug, you have to have a 50-foot setback from your last drain field to the next piece of property. And we're coming to this point where we're really realizing that our last drain field is very close to the next piece of property. We're hoping it's right at 50 feet, but we're not 100% sure, and we've gone out there and tried to do it ourselves a few times now, but it's becoming apparent that we just have to get a survey done. So we can talk to our neighbor and get an easement, or worst case scenario, we're gonna have to have our septic redone, which is gonna cost a lot. we're really crossing our fingers that that doesn't happen. This all could have been prevented if we would have just had a survey done when we purchased our property. And it could have been something that the seller would have paid for, or we could have split the cost with. And now we're sitting and we have to pay for the whole survey, which is not going to be cheap. So this one would have saved us
$3,000 or $4,000.
Yeah. So this is a big one. So be sure, if you're buying a piece of property, take that time to ask, when was the last survey done? And if it was done a long time ago, then get the survey done so you have those markers in place for yourself. So why didn't we get a survey in the beginning? Well, it was because the lot that we have actually has a nice flat space that's buildable, and we knew that's where our home would eventually go. So we were kind of like, this looks great, and we could tell that it was far enough away from both other pieces of both adjacent pieces of property.
Yeah,
that's a fancy word for me. Both adjacent pieces of property, and we were like, this is great. This will totally work within the lines of permitting. Now, looking at things like septic and additional structures, it's becoming apparent that just knowing those lines would have been a lot more helpful to us.
Mistake number 4, find the right real estate professional. When we started searching for land, we went to the local real estate agent, and it's a small town, so there's not a lot of agents in the town. And we had her show us a lot of spots. And I think the mistake that we made was we didn't find somebody that had a lot of experience in advising on land purchases. There's specialized skills that agents that deal in just land know and can advise you on. In our case, we trusted our real estate agent to provide us with accurate comps to help us decide on what we would offer. The comps that came back seemed to be in the right range, so we proceeded. Only after closing did we find out there was a comp on the property just below us that closed 6 months earlier for the exact same price that we bought ours, except they already had electrical installed, which after completing that, we now know that's about an $8,000 expense that we went out of pocket. If we would have been armed with that information, we could have made a more aggressive offer, and I'm confident we could have negotiated that down further with the seller. So the main point is that nobody's going to care about your purchase more than you. So do your own research. Even if you're working with the best real estate professionals, do your own due diligence as well. Check as many comps as you can, and you won't regret it. And there you have it. Those were our 4 big mistakes when we purchased our land. We wish we would have seen a video like this when we first started looking. It would have literally saved us thousands of dollars.
And to those of you who have already bought a piece of land, we would love it if you shared what mistakes you made when you were purchasing your land. It's always great to get a dialogue going and connect with other landowners who are developing their own property.
If this video was helpful, make sure to subscribe to our channel, smash that like button if that's something you're into, and let us know if you want us to keep making videos like this.